Scarcely a street, too few houses, to merit the title, just a way between the one tavern and the one shop that leads nowhere and fails at the top of the short hill eaten away by long erosion of the green tide of grass creeping perpetually nearer this last outpost of times past. So little happens, the black dog, crackling his fleas in the hot sun, is history, yet the girl who crosses from door to door moves to a scale beyond the bland day's two's dimensions. Stay then, village, for round you spins, on a slow axis, a world as vast and meaningful as any pose by great Plato's solitary mind. R.S. Thompson, The Village. Hello everyone, and welcome to the world of Dragon Age, and let's get right into it with 10 facts you might not have known about Lothering. Lothering sits around the center of Ferelden, and while it may seem small and unimpressive compared to the other places we visit in Origin, Lothering is far from unimportant, as Lothering is the beginning of a journey for two of Thetis' greatest heroes, Hawke and the hero of Ferelden. So you can imagine that even if it seems small, there are still some secrets and details to uncover. So let's get right into it with number 1. Let's get into history first, as Lothering used to be nothing more than a trading post to the didnt Imperium, specifically for those stationed at Ostagar. However, whether a combination of the Chastened, slaves, or the Imperium themselves, Lothering is now a prominent town, being a stopping point between Redcliffe and Denerim, two of Ferelden's largest cities. At number 2, let's get into the Imperial Highway, as it's the first part of Lothering we see. It's even paired with the quest title too. The highway was built after Ostagar, and was made with a combination of slave labor and magic. The highway was likely expected to stretch all across Thetis. We see evidence of the highway all the way in Lake Calenhad as proof of this. Even if we get the impression that the highway is dilapidated now, that actually isn't so much the case, as many traders still use the highway as it is safer than normal roads, despite some parts being collapsed. Additionally, the highway was built by slaves specifically from Kirkwall, which makes it interesting that many Lothering refugees during the attack of Lothering flee to Kirkwall. Most famously, Hawke, who has family there. So there may be a strong connection between Kirkwalls and Lothering, and many may have relatives that they barely even know about, but likely want to rely on during the Blight. At number 3, Lothering clearly isn't the happiest place in all of Ferelden, as many people are very well aware of their impending doom. In fact, even the name Lothering is kinda sad. Well, that was actually the idea, as one of the head designers who named Lothering said that he had watched Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas the night before, and he used that as the basis of the name. For a time, the plot of Lothering in the main quest was called Fear and Lothering in Ferelden. A very funny touch, in my opinion. Number 4 spot, we're going to take a look at the Templars of Lothering. Since all the soldiers were taken away from Lothering by order of Loghain, these Templars are really the only military presence Lothering currently has, and the only defense against the Darkspawn Horde. The Templars are so stretched thin from this, in fact, that you can tell the leader that Morgan is an apostate, and he would simply say he doesn't have time for this. Additionally, if your character is a mage, he would be able to tell, saying that he can sense you have magical blood, but will again not do anything about it. Now, interestingly enough, Sir Brian is very atypical of Templars, who would normally capture on sight any mage, regardless of the situation. Interacting with him gives us a better idea as to how Hawke's family likely lived without issue in Lothering, as we know at least Hawke's father and sister were apostates, but they still interacted with the people in Lothering despite nothing going on. It's very likely Sir Brian could tell some of Hawke's family was magical, but chose to ignore it and order his soldiers to do the same, since some of them appeared to be a threat to the town, which is very lucky for Hawke. For our number 5 slot, there are several quests in Lothering that highlight the crafting system in this game. Well, our focus will be on one of those quest givers, Old Barlin, who asks us to make some venom to put on his traps to defend his land. The easiest way to do this is just to kill a bunch of horde of spiders at the corner of town. Now what's interesting about Old Barlin is he actually canonically survives the Lothering invasion thanks to the poison, and we know this because he knows Hawke personally.
which makes sense as he's the innkeeper of the town and all, so it's his job to do so. Now, 2 years after the invasion of Lothering, he sends Hawk a letter letting him know he survived, and that he's still trying to put poisonous traps on his land, even if the Darkspawn are all gone. Well, good luck, old man. For our number 6 slot, let's get into another theory craft. There is only one merchant right now in Lothering, simply named Merchant. Now we probably all know him, as a cutscene plays as we approach him, and he gives us a choice as to whether we help him and get some money, or help the people and get, well, nothing. Either way, he's not the friendliest character in the game, but what's interesting about him is if you pickpocket him, he will always carry the same item, the Imperium crossbow, the best crossbow in the whole game. Now, crossbows themselves are not at all viable in Dragon Age, but it's still pretty useful to get this bow early on. However, past all that, why does this merchant in a tutorial section of the game carry a top tier weapon which in the description says bears the marks of the didnt Imperium? Is this man a merchant from the Imperium, simply visiting the town? Did he steal the crossbow from a magister in order to bid it off later? Is he some sort of secret demon slayer simply disguised as a merchant in order to hunt down demons without them ever suspecting a thing? Okay, probably not the last one. Either way, there's a story behind this merchant that we may never know. For our number 7 slot, when we first pass by Sten's cage, we overhear him muttering something in a language we can't understand. We find out later that he's speaking the Kun, the language of the Kunari people. Now we can actually translate the Kun, but Sten never actually elaborates what he said in the cage himself. If we look it up ourselves, however, we found out that he spoke the following. Struggle is an illusion. The tide rises, the tide falls, but the sea is changeless. There is nothing to struggle against. Victory is in the Kun. This is actually a Kunari prayer of the dead. As we find out later, this is both for himself, being trapped in a cage for the Darkspawn, and his fallen soldiers that came with him all the way from Parvalan. It's rather sad once you realize it. Number 8 slot, let's stay on Sten for a bit. Now when talking to him, we received the quest to free him from his cage. This is actually one of the most diverse quests in the game, as there are many ways to solve it. Some simple, some more nuanced. Now you take Sten's advice on how to free him, you're going to want to talk to the revered mother in the Chantry. Now you can deceive her, threaten her, have Leliana talk to her, or funnily enough, bribe her. Now yes, this isn't a direct option, however when you first talk to her, she asks you for a type, and you can range anything from nothing to 5 whole sovereigns, which is probably more than any warden can have right now. Now this is where the bribing comes in, as this type actually has a gameplay mechanic as to how easy it is to convince her for you to give her the key. Now giving her 5 gold coins allows you to always pass the speech check, effectively bribing a priest to let a murderer go. Maybe old Chantry priests aren't as high and mighty as you may think. For 9 slot, there is something I just learned recently myself, and I've played this game almost 10 years. When you're trying to leave Lothering, usually you get attacked by a horde of peasants who found out you are a Grey Warden and are trying to collect a bounty. This may not be the toughest fight, as they're farmers against a Grey Warden, but it's still vaguely annoying, given how many of them there are. Now what you probably didn't know is you can skip this whole encounter from showing up if you pick the right dialogue and avoid several pretty important conversations. Now if you don't tell the bandits at the front of the town that you meet when you first enter that you're a Grey Warden, basically avoiding the intimidation check, and you don't tell anyone in town you are, and also don't go into the tavern where Lothering soldiers and Leliana find you, as they'll out you themselves, you can actually walk past the trigger point with the peasants, and there will be no peasants there to fight you. Not practical as you miss out on quest rewards and Leliana, but a nice gameplay touch that I never knew myself. Finally, for our last part, let's get into Leliana, one of the most important characters in the entire series of Dragon Age. Now when you first meet her in the tavern after the fight with Lothering soldiers, so claim the Maker himself gave her a vision to join the Grey Warden to fight the Blight. Now if you reject her in that tavern, she'll actually show up again at the edge of the town, where you have a hilarious dialogue with Alistair on why you should recruit her. Now if you skip the tavern section entirely, but leave Lothering and come back before it's destroyed, Leliana will greet you upon returning, and do her entire greeting just as she would in the tavern. Basically, there's no saying no to Leliana. That concludes my video on Lothering, details, secrets, and things you didn't know. Feel free to, as always, drop some details or lore you know about Dragon Age Origins in the comments below. My next video will be on the Circle of Magi. I hope to catch you all there. Thank you very much for watching.